And even after 1.5 years of being on this journey and working a lot on myself, on drinking a lot of ayahuasca, I still felt like it hasn't really changed. I'm still stuck in the same ways that I was before. Will your life change after ayahuasca? And you probably heard a lot of people who talked about their transformative ayahuasca retreat and how their life is different now. And you might be a little bit skeptical, like, it can't be that easy. How does it work? Am I going to change into a version of myself that I don't like? And in this video, I want to dig deep and not just on the surface, like, yeah, your life will change, not change, but about things that I was able to shift within me, things that took a lot of time to change, and also things that I haven't been able to change with ayahuasca up until this point. I think a very important question to ask yourself is, do you want your life to change? Are you happy with your life? Or do you feel like there is something missing, that something needs to be transformed within you so you can truly live the life that you desire? And I think that level of honesty is very important first and foremost, because if you say like, no, I don't really want to change my life, in most cases, ayahuasca will not change your life either. There's a person who drank ayahuasca with us, and he didn't feel a lot in his ceremony. And I talked with him 6 months later, and he said, you know what, Oliver, certain things have shifted in me. I behave differently under certain circumstances. And I think it's beautiful to observe, because let's say you're going down a direction and then you change a bit in 3 months, 6 months, or even further down the line, there will be a difference of where you are. And those can also only be slight changes that over time they add up into conducting yourself in a different manner. There's also multiple business owners who have drank ayahuasca here, and I think it's beautiful to observe the change in them. And a lot of times they start to let go of control more. They allow their to extend their level of trust to their employees, to the people who they work with. That way they have more free time. They allow themselves to have that free time, because before they were super workaholics and they were something that they were running away from and putting all that energy just to not encounter those aspects, and then they start dealing with it and they start to become a more centered human being. A lot of those business owners also then start to think about, okay, what are the values of my company? What do I actually want to add to the world? Not just how can I make the most money? And I think it's really beautiful to observe those changes in people as well. And then I also observed people who drank ayahuasca and after that gone through some drastic life changes, saying like, hey, I'm going on a motorbike tour for the next 6 months. But in a way, those people really needed that experience, because they were suppressing something inside of them for way too long, and then they needed that time for exploration, that time off work or whatever it is, to start to figure out what's happening inside that they have neglected for a very long time. But there's something that I really want to stress, and that in the end you are responsible for your life, and it's the decisions that you make. So it's not like, oh, I drank ayahuasca and ayahuasca told me to do this, and then you give all the responsibility away and then you have an excuse for whatever you're doing. Like, it's still you that makes a decision, and maybe ayahuasca shows you certain things that you weren't aware of before, and because of that you start to make different decisions in your life. But it's always important to understand that you are in the steering wheel in your life, and to not give away that responsibility. Also with ayahuasca, it can feel like life starts to accelerate. If you move a lot of energy inside, it's going to reflect on the outside as well. And in a way, people, things, opportunities that are meant for you, they will be in your life. Whereas if they're not, they're going to be even like crazy circumstances that they go away. So it can feel like that after you drink ayahuasca, you start to get on the autobahn of your life, and things accelerate, which I think is beautiful, because if you can go fast, then why not go fast? And it doesn't mean don't have patience, doesn't mean everything has to change tomorrow, but it's good that sometimes we have a certain rhythm and there's not a lot of change happening, and it feels like today I'm still the person I was 3 years ago, and then like when life starts to move, it's good that those things start to happen. And I want to go back to one of the earlier questions, is, do you want your life to change? Because I believe so, that in many of us, there's a part of us that, yes, absolutely wants to change. And then there's the other part of us who's afraid of change, afraid of the unknown, wants to stay in the comfort zone. So you got to ask yourself, do you want to feed the old habits, the old you, which feel comfortable, which are easy to fall into and replicate, or do you just, no, this is not me anymore. I start doing things in a different way, which require energy, discipline, focus, and you can change, but it's really also the question, are you ready for that change? And sometimes change happens really quickly, but other times change is very incremental and takes a lot of time. I mean, I even observe some people who drank ayahuasca, let's say 1.5 or 2 years ago, and their life isn't that different either. And it's also, you got to look at, sometimes it's an outside perspective, sometimes it's the inside perspective, that they actually did make some small changes, but it's not as noticeable yet to the outside person. And I can share some personal things. So, for example, one of the topics why I drank ayahuasca is to explore some of the self-worth issues that I had. And I felt like in very important situations, whether it was in business or romantic relationship, I was very dependent on the reaction of the other person. And I didn't want to be that. I wanted to feel that abundance within. So if a person, a business situation, whatever, says no, it's like, it's their decision. And even after 1.5 years of being on this journey and working a lot on myself, on drinking a lot of ayahuasca, I still felt like it hasn't really changed. I'm still stuck in the same ways that I was before. And I would get frustrated about it too. But now, about 3 years into the journey, I started now to see that those things did start to shift. And it's beautiful to observe that. But those deeper parts sometimes take longer to shift. And of course I had other things that started to happen sooner, with like life expressing itself through me. It started to happen a lot quicker, self-critic being gone, being more in my body. Those changes happened for me a lot sooner. And then there's also changes that I haven't been able to change with ayahuasca. For example, I'm not the most organized person. And also, in a way, it's also a self-image. So I think of myself as not an organized person, and because of that, I start doing things the way I've always done them. And even though there's part of me who wants to be more organized and have some things more more like that, there's parts of me who's just not putting in the work, who's not changing that level of self-image about myself. And it doesn't matter how much ayahuasca I drink, that's not going to change until I really also grab it by the horns and start doing the things that I need to do to become a more organized person. But then there's also a part of me which is like, yeah, it's also okay to not be as organized, to go with the flow of life and give this to somebody else. So as you can see, there's certain excuses or whatever that I make for myself to remain in the situation that I'm in. So in the end, ayahuasca is not a magic pill. It can shift so many things inside of us, and it can create a huge change in your life. But you also have to do your part. And if you do your part, it can change in amazing ways. Life can accelerate. You start to feel a lot more self-love. I also make another video about how life changes for people after they drink ayahuasca. And if you enjoy this content, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.